Hello and welcome to the A&P. I am Alex Johansson and my co-host Patrick McCallum. Patrick,
Hello, everyone. How are you getting on?
we're having logical discussions about the state of the world. Let's get into it, brother. Hey, Patrick.
How are you getting on, buddy? So, what have you for me today?
Well,
there we go. Words are hard.
Words can be
No, my
difficult.
word.
So I have Jamie Gold on Heretics talking with Connor Tomlinson from the UK, and they want to talk about Islam and Muslims in the UK and some of the immigration pressures and problems. So let's let them get cooking so we can see where they are.
We're at a point now, there are a lot of Muslims in this country. A lot of people are saying, okay, allow more in, but they have to adapt, like sort of a Catherine Birbal Singh, Michaela School thing. But would you say that's impossible?
Yeah, so I will challenge the idea that it would be even nice even if there is a Union Jack on it. Because I think that people fail to have a theory of mind as to what people think when they adhere to Islamic customs. People think that Islam and some other religions they can be compartmentalized as a comprehensive doctrine of the good purely to your private life, and then the only public exhibition of this is your clothing and the food you might eat.
Yeah, that is definitely not the case.
No, it's not.
Right. With Islam, you have Sharia law, and that is a total package of how one is to live their lives, wherever they might be, and in all instances. So if they follow all of those things at all of those times, they'll be doing that in public in the UK, and some of their rules are a little aggressive, shall we say. So
yes, that's definitely an understatement. I think most Western countries are coming to the realization that the integration project is not working out too well.
Right. Well, they have They have some tenets like the people of the book, which are the Jews and the Christians, should adhere to Islam, and if they don't adhere to Islam, then they need to pay a thing called the jizya, which is like a protection tax. And if you're an atheist, then you should functionally just be killed outright. Right. So that's So that is the Quran backed up by the Hadith. And there's many a surah that says these kinds of things in specific. It's not vague language, and I think that's part of the issue, right?
I think a lot of young people, especially, don't quite understand the history of Islam either, and where and how it was born or came into being.
Right.
Which you have covered before in previous videos.
Yes, we will get into it more because I think it's an important thing that we understand some bits of history to help us ascertain what's going on in the present time. So, all right, let's let them cook.
And this is because a very, I think, Protestant conception of what religion was that applied to kind of have Catholics, Protestants, and Jews live together in Europe under the umbrella of liberal pluralism. And it worked because they all had a common religious sort of root. And also because they have a universalist morality, that they see that each person is made in the image of God and therefore they have to be treated as an end into themselves, sort of Kantian idea. Islam doesn't have that. They have a concept called asabaya, which means clannishness. It means that morality is only to be extended as far as that advantages your family, your clan, and the ummah, the sort of global Muslim ethnicity. This is why they're more preoccupied with the issues of Palestine than they are cost of living in Britain as it goes down the drain. And so on the idea of the burqa, niqab, and hijab specifically, it is not just a headscarf. It is premised on the idea that if girls do not wear that, if they show their hair or their bare skin, they are inviting sexual assault. So it's blaming girls, not just women, but the girls that wear it, including at the Michaela School, even though Catherine Birbal Singh would object to.
Right, so that is not really in line with Western culture. So as individuals, we have agency, and if we do a thing, it is on us for the thing that we have done. Right.
I think the problem with Islam is it's still stuck in the 78th century, where it originally came from, of ideal of society, where Western society has evolved over time. Even though as Christians or Jews and as Protestants, we have changed over time. We have moved away from those values, and just let people live their lives. We're not going to go and stone people at the city gates anymore. We've moved past those type of barbaric practices.
Christianity, Catholicism, and almost all the Christian sects are fairly watered down from the Old Testament, right? The rule of law.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So
there is obviously extreme versions of all religions, but Islam itself seems to be very slow to adapt whatsoever to any nation that's ever settled in.
Right. So, and also speaking to the clannishness, if you are more concerned with clan as opposed to whatever the national identity might be, they don't view themselves as British first or citizens of the UK. They are Muslims first. And because they are Muslims first, the things that concern Muslims, like engaging in ensuring that Sharia law is the thing that is practiced, is counter to what the Western ideological bent is. So,
like over time, if we look back in the past, other religions were very much entrenched, like Islam,
right?
But they've moved past that entrenched and integrated more into the societies they were in, and has benefited them over the centuries. But Islam is still rooted in this idea of, as you say, clanism, or religion above state.
Yeah, that's not how things work.
No.
Here we go.
Morality, but the fact that it is present means that the girls and therefore the families inflicting it on them believe in this morality. The idea is that the girls themselves are inviting men to sin, and if they provoke sexual violence, they are to blame for it. That's just not how we do things here. We think all women and men are capable of equal moral dignity. There's completely incompatible moral tradition.
That's important. Moral dignity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if the advocacy of your moral and ethical position is appropriate, then you are integrating more appropriately into Western society, because that is what it means to be in Western society. Each individual with their agency makes those decisions based on their efficacy and appropriateness. However, when you introduce a situation where, based on a thing you are doing, someone else is then forced to do something, is unrealistic. It's
and I think the sad part about Islam is they're still, as I keep going back to the point, is they're still stuck centuries behind the rest of us.
Yep.
And they will be for forever to come. They don't want to integrate into any society. They do not want to adhere to any of the laws of any land they seem to integrate into.
Or they fail to integrate into. They physically move to the location, but they choose to not integrate in. I'm having problems with English too. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. They're failing to assimilate. Right.
Yes. There you go. You got the words.
I did. I had to hit that clearly Canadian. Not sponsored, by the way. The Orchard Peach. Pretty darn good. All right. Here we go.
But this strikes at the heart of the idea that the growth of Islam represents an existential threat to our way of life. Like, the foundations of common law and the foundations of Sharia law are irreconcilable. You can't have a little bit of both. It's either one or the other. And
we watched him before when he was in a debate with other people, and there was so much cognitive dissonance in the room, and people were getting so angry with his position, and as opposed to treating his position, they strawmanned him, first of all, and then they started with a bunch of ad hominem attacks. You're too young to know anything. So the folks that signed...
The sad thing is, when that didn't work on him, then they attacked every single thing he said.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing about that audience is most people in that audience were all very upper middle class.
Right, very stodgy. Yes.
Very well put together. They very rarely would go down to the local pub and have a pint with the normal plebeians, as they would say.
Oh.
They were that
bourgeoisie.
type of,
they are bourgeoisie.
Those type of. They were, as I would call them, armchair socialists, which is okay. You can have that position, but they don't understand that a lot of these ideas that he is sprouting are not baseless. If they went down to any part of East London or Birmingham or anywhere like that,
what's that nice town you keep telling me about in Dublin?
Ballymun. Even if actually, if you go to the north side, I'm just going to say Ballymun. Just look at the north side of Dublin, even how integration has not worked. It doesn't work, and we still have people in the upper really upper middle class, even in Ireland, as well as the UK or another, where they say, oh, it's working out okay. We're all integrating, we're all holding hands. But that's because they're not living next door to it.
Right. Well, they are forcing multiculturalism in a space where it doesn't fit, and it causes a ton of cognitive dissonance because the people who are at the pointy end of the spear are telling them this doesn't work, right? And when Sharia law and Western culture get together, they don't get on. There's a dissonance there as well. It just doesn't.
Yes.
They are not hand in hand. They are knife and back.
No,
right? It's bad.
Yeah.
So, all right, here we go.
We have certain moral compasses in the Western world that Islam does not have in Sharia law.
Again, the moral and ethical efficacy of our decision is what drives Western culture for the most part.
Yes.
And beer and dinosaur juice. Yes, here we go.
Yes.
This is a multi-generational problem because there is no integration strategy that fixes this by like layering British values, sort of thin version of British identity over the top of it. This is what was proposed in the Now and England conference by historian Robert Toombs, who's very learned in the history of England, but he said the solution to the hijacking of English parliamentary democracy by sectarian Islamic candidates like the 4 Gaza MPs who are now forming a party with Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn was to clone Catherine Birbalsingh.
So the Gaza party or whatever they're trying to create is definitely so there's single platform candidates, right? They believe a thing about Gaza, and that is what they got elected on. None of the rest of their policies and none of the rest of the things that they're about were even brought up. It's like they got elected on that, and it was based on the population in the area where where the councils were and all that stuff. So, but we don't know anything else about them except that they believe this one thing about this one thing, and that's
they're as we call them, one-trick pony candidates.
Yeah, and
they'll probably do one term. Will they do a second term? Probably not, because the nature of the world is that Gaza is going to go off the headlines and be on to the next crisis. And this is a flash in the pan. Do 4 candidates really make a massive difference? No. And as you said, the areas they were elected in, I'm not surprised.
Well, you have to understand, when Islam gets 15 to 20% of the population in an area and they can really, really affect local government, they do. And that has to do with clannishness, right? So they get together as a clan, they have a united front because they want these things, and they tend to gain control that way in spaces. It's just the reality of how that works.
Oh, yeah, it is the nature of it. It will happen. Will Britain get a lot more? It'll get a lot more county councillors. It'll get a lot more of their MPs will be of a certain Islamic leaning, and it will happen. It eventually.
Yeah.
How will Britain deal with it? It will be very interesting to see it.
I'm unsure, but Ireland's going to be running into the same issue here pretty soon. But I think their issue is more with North Africans, right? Or
more it's more North Africans we're dealing with. For the most part,
right?
A lot of Albanians, Georgians. Yes, have we a lot of Muslims coming in? Yes, but it's more.
Your Roma.
Last figures they were showing was 20% are Muslim. The rest are from North Africa, which are mainly evangelical Christians and so on.
Right. Your Roma population's going a little out of control too.
The Roma population, yes, has been a bit out of control. And if the new Minister of Justice, he's doing a pretty bang up job of deporting as many as he can. He's also started increasing the Department of Justice's resources as well in the last budget.
Well, I would hope they get a little more money to deal with that situation. Here we go.
Oh, yes, they are. And in fairness to them, they are doing a pretty good job. And they are training staff as quickly as they can. Because it is proper staff they're putting in place. They're not going to drag a guy off the street. You know what I mean? Like ICE over, just dragging a random guy and sticking a uniform on him. Never ends quite that well.
No, that doesn't go well. But I believe the ICE, I don't know how long their training cycle is. I'll look that up. I'll find out what that is.
It's pretty low. But it is ramping up. As I say, if you train decent guys to do a decent job, you'll always get decent results. And you'll speed things a lot better than sticking a badge on a guy and hoping for the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This isn't the Old West, right? All right, here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you see girls in headscarves reciting Rudyard Kipling, you believe that being English is something you can learn, and if you're required to learn it, you could actually do it. Now again, just reciting poetry does not eradicate all the moral priors that go into that girl wearing a headscarf, and the influence of her family is much more likely to be of a lasting influence on her than 4 or 5 years at the Michaela School. But the reason this is going to be an intergenerational problem is because, per recent ONS statistics and per recent statistics from the Henry Jackson Society, Muhammad is now the most popular baby name for newborns in England. 40% of children have at least one parent who is an immigrant. By 2063, according to Matt Goodwin, we are going to be a minority white British country. I think it's by 2100, over a quarter of the country is going to be Islamic. And according to the Henry Jackson Society polling, among second generation, British-born, university-educated Muslims, 18 to 30, so those that have passed through most of our institutions, have had 30 years here, are the most inclined to assimilate. They believe that 3/4 of them, Hamas did nothing wrong on October 7th. A third of them want Sharia law. 52% want to ban depictions of the Prophet Muhammad.
That is absolutely 180 degrees from appropriate Westernized culture.
Yeah.
That is what we like to call the wrong answer.
Yes, I remember years ago, there was a Dutch artist, and he was working in Paris, France, and he drew a joke of Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people know the story I'm on about.
Yep.
So they took a great exception to it and went in and killed multiple people inside that office over that cartoon, by the way. Just a cartoon.
That's asinine. That is asinine.
Yes. This is the type of extremism you're going to be welcoming to your country. No matter what way you dress it up and put a ribbon on it.
Well, no, they've already welcomed it. They're going to have to start coming up with solutions very soon.
No,
because
if you look all the way through history, anytime Islam has got a foothold in any country, all through history, they can look it up, historical facts are there, has not ended well.
Nope.
It's always ended very not nicely. Is the only way.
It's bloodshed. It is bloodshed, and it's bloodshed pretty much every time. So, all right, here we go.
So, that is the least assimilable form of Islam if we are being charitable, and that is the one which has demographic and thereby democratic momentum. And more Michaela schools or telling the population to don't look back in anger isn't going to fix this.
I suppose it's still a theory that could work. I mean, we're talking about culture. All those things you mentioned, these are cultural, religious beliefs that you would hope, were there more attempts by the UK government and by the schools to assimilate people, that kind of, I mean, what is it, 53% want homosexuality outlawed and 40% want Sharia law. You would hope that those numbers might go down.
Why would we run a mass demographic experiment that ends in an existential threat to the country?
Because we've got no choice.
Well, we do have choice.
Well, we could, I mean,
we absolutely do have a choice, okay? And it doesn't require sort of the most militaristic of forceful expulsions. All we do is we ban cousin marriage. We don't allow the construction of any new mosques. I just don't think we allow them to practice. Frankly, we shouldn't allow
it's not going to happen.
I'm saying we shouldn't allow. I'm being prescriptive, and also it depends how bad. So
prescriptive versus descriptive.
Yeah.
So
I understand his points there, and I understand what the interviewer's saying here as well. They're ideas, but they're never going to happen. They're not going to ban.
No, it's not. So what's going to happen is
they're not going to curtail the freedom of religion.
No, but it's going to end in bloodshed. And as soon as the white majority in Britain realizes they are absolutely screwed, and they're going to lose that platform, that power to be England, to be a national entity, they're going to have to do something. They'll be compelled to, and especially if the government under Keir Starmer keeps saying you're all right-wing fascists, like that doesn't make any sense. No, they just want to say we're England.
Yeah, but the sad thing about England is not just Starmer's government; it's previous governments, the Tories, from the Labour, and so on and so on. It's multiple governments.
Yeah, who since the 80s have been told by the population that they don't want mass immigration. They don't want this thing, and every government since then has decided we're going to do this. From the minute Margaret Thatcher stepped down, it looks like they've been in a tailspin on this specific subject, and now it's going to destroy them.
I think it's a tailspin because at that time the British needed immigration in because they had massive industries at the time of Thatcher. You know, they had steel mills, shipyards, and so on, which took severe amounts of manpower, which was the way our economy is built. But now that their economy is in a bit of a tailspin down.
A bit, you say.
Not just because, by the way, not just because of immigration, but which doesn't help the matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that a lot of people don't trade with Britain like they used to. A lot of their trading partners are no longer working with them.
Because of Brexit, or?
Yes, because of Brexit.
Ah, okay.
And plus, I think leading up to Brexit and after Brexit, it's the British, we're greater than everyone else on earth type of attitude probably did not help them in trade negotiations across the globe. Especially with a lot of their former colonies who already are not big fans. Think of India at the moment. And I think this is all coming together. All of Britain's bad decisions over the last multiple decades are all coming home to roost. Not just immigration, but all their ills are coming home to roost.
From the League of Nations on down.
Yeah, I always feel sorry for the normal British man and woman on the street who are trying to make a few bob, trying to put their family through college or so on.
Right.
Trying to just keep a roof over their heads. And this immigration issue is definitely not helping matters whatsoever.
No, it's killing them. All right, here we go.
We could throw away our entirely liberal priors based on the idea that we're all the same underneath and that all cultural differences are totally arbitrary and it can be remedied by more social housing and subsidies and a different school curriculum. If we threw that out, because that is a fiction, we could institute very restrictive policies that would mean that if people commit a crime, they are deported like any other criminal, and if they don't like to live here, they can go and live in one of the many Muslim countries that will facilitate their way of life. Largely, a lot of the reason that these people are here is because they're living off the largesse of the taxpayer. 47% of London's social housing is occupied by first-generation immigrants. 33% of Pakistanis and Bangladeshis have never worked in their life. We're paying billions every year in universal credit to refugee and immigrant households. Why
are they doing that? Why are they just throwing money away like that?
It's the same issue we have over here at the moment with our own social welfare system.
Okay.
And Britain and ourselves have a very similar social welfare system.
Right.
Because we got our system, most of the world got their social welfare system originally from Britain because they were the first to develop the social safety net.
Right.
But social welfare was only ever designed to be a short-term fix between one job and the next job. It was never designed to be a lifestyle. The fact that people now are using it as a lifestyle is very disingenuous to the people who have to pay taxes every week and get up every morning, put on their boots and go to work.
I have had this discussion with people and they say things like, well, all these things should be free. No, what you're saying is I should get taxed more. It's not free. Someone is paying for it, right?
And the sad part about Britain is they have a pretty good health service and so on. Well, but now that they're paying out billions, the problem is with Britain is they're still have the bill at the end of the year, but not enough money to come in and meet that bill.
Yep. Inflation.
It's not just inflation. It's the fact that their exports are down across the board.
Right.
There's various other reasons. And the fact that they're paying out billions as well in social credits to people who are not even from their own country is not helping matters.
Right. Why would you do that, though? Why would you give your resources to people who were not your citizens? And then your citizens will suffer on top of that. Like, there are limited resources, and when you hand them to people who are not contributing in any way, then you're just causing this disservice to your people.
Yeah,
right?
Like, as I say, Ireland and Britain are very similar when it comes to this issue. But when you look at our continental cousins, like in Spain, France, Germany, if you're not a citizen of that country and you just arrive on their shores, you get a pittance. They'll give you a roof over your head in a dorm type area, and they'll give you a very small
stipend or whatever.
Very small fraction. That's across most EU countries. But the problem with Britain and Ireland is we have very generous social welfare system.
Yep.
That's hence the reason why we're getting a lot of them.
But it shouldn't have ever been extended to non-citizens in the first place. Or they should have streamlined the asylum-seeking function to see if they were actually asylees as opposed to just handing everybody the dole.
Exactly. And that's why in Ireland we're ramping up the interviews. Like there was a situation up to recently where it would take anything from a year and a half to 2 years before they even got an interview about staying in the country. Now they've cut it down to 6 months, and they're going to cut it shorter as more staff ramp up.
Well, the United States the United States was having that issue where someone would get picked up and they'd say, okay, you have a court date in 5 years. Go ahead and walk around freely in the United States.
Yeah, you ran into the same issue where there wasn't enough resources put in at the tail end. Like, the laws are in place, but you still need resources to enforce it. Britain now is running into...
Right.
It's cut back so much on its civil service over the years to save money because of, less money coming in. They have to cut it from somewhere.
No, and at the time, things were good. Or not bad.
They were all, like, since Brexit, you can see the slow kind of decline.
The deterioration of the situation.
GDP, and so over time. And it was a slow boil in the background. The problem is the Tory government before Starmer were saying, oh, everything's okay, the house is not on fire, it's all good. Now, just before Starmer came in, the Bank of Britain, Central Bank, tried to do a bond sale, which did not work out too well because nobody wanted to buy their bonds. So Britain's answer was, you know what we'll do? We'll just print more money, which does not help, by the way. There's that more fuel to the fire.
Well, and Biden did that too.
Yeah, I look at Starmer sometimes, and I kind of feel, I don't feel sorry for him because he went in with eyes open. He should have been
Well,
honest.
I think so. The part of the issue, like here, was that in the 4 years that Biden was president, he printed more money than had been printed by the country in all of the years prior. Right?
Yes,
it was insane.
And I think that US has fallen into the same trap now that Britain is falling into, is people don't think Britain is capable of paying back their bond.
Right.
There was a time where they were the gold standard, British and US bonds.
Right. Well, I think the United States bonds were AAA bonds, and I think they've since been knocked down.
They've been knocked down because the bond market is looking at both countries saying,
nope.
Can these guys actually pay back this money in years to come? And the minute people start asking that kind of question in the open marketplace,
it loses
it kind
trust.
of spreads like wildfire. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to it.
Battery farming foreigners at our expense if they're living in ethnic enclaves wholly apart from, and in many cases antagonistic to,
not assimilating and actually counter to what is safe for the country. Yes, that's not good.
Yes.
The native population, and then lobbying for greater representation in government to then have the government act as a sort of client agent on their behalf while neglecting the needs of the British host majority.
Yeah, I think we're a bit screwed, to be honest. I mean, I know that's
that was a really pleasant way to put that.
Yes.
Like, hey Johnny. Yes. Hey Johnny, I think we're a little fucked here. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, obviously we can't. Certain words we can't use on YouTube, and that's probably one of them. But using once is okay. Well, for what?
We'll take a PG-13 movie.
We're over the yeah. And but
it's like
nice
a PG-13 movie. You get to do it once. So, but no, but that, to exhibit, like, that's a very mild way to say we are in a very, very bad situation.
Yes.
Right. And I mean, look at his face. He knows it, and it sucks because he is such a homer for the UK. Like, he is British, not a bad dude. Does a lot of really good interviews, right? And he's a delicate soul. He's a sensitive fella, but he knows. I mean, look at that.
I've seen we've heard some of his interviews before. He's really good. He's really balanced, and I have to give him credit where credit is true. The UK is pretty screwed. It's not the immigration issues. It's not helping, but they're pretty screwed.
His girl Katie Hopkins came on and tore him in half. Woo.
Oh yeah,
she did work on him. She's like, "You need to man up, bud." So but no,
Katie
seriously,
Hopkins is like the angry ant in the corner.
She is an interesting personality.
Yes,
she's one of my favorite UK personalities. She's super interesting. All right, let's let him go.
Fetus, and it actually annoys my viewers sometimes, but I know I get everything that you're saying there, but I just think there's always ways to get into the country. They'll just find a way. And high birth rates and gingers converting to Islam.
I don't think there's that many gingers converting. So I know that 1 in 5 Muslims in prison are now white converts. So that's obviously the prisons themselves have been overrun by Muslim gangs. I mean, they've called themselves the Muslim Brotherhood because, again, they're not very inventive.
Yeah.
As a bunch, I remember it was 2016, a former inmate has said that Belmar should become just a jihadi training camp, and this is why we're getting so many attacks on prison officers by the likes of Axel Rudikabana and the Abedi brother, the living Abedi brother of
That is a horribly unsafe situation. Prison gangs are some of the most hardened individuals, and prison just becomes criminal college.
But I will say one thing about the British: they have their prisons are really tough.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that.
These guys mightn't get away with as much as you think inside those prisons.
Right,
yeah,
but
the
if they came over,
prison,
if they came over here and went into the California system like Pelican Bay, they'd get tore up. They'd get tore up quick.
Yeah.
Of the Manchester Arena bombing. So I think have an immigration red list. We know the countries that these people are coming from. We know which nationalities are more likely to commit crime. For example, Afghans and Eritreans, the largest nationality that have come over on small boats as of this year, are 20 times more likely than a British national to commit a sex offence. I don't see why we're waging war on our women and girls in that way. I don't think any of these men should be here. They should all be deported. I think we should just prohibit immigration from those areas. I know the chaps at Trigonometry had Kemi Badenoch on recently, and they said, in light of the Pakistani grooming gang scandal, would you ban immigration from Pakistan? And she just said, well, no, I think actually that there's been, great contributions made by people from Pakistan. And it's like, okay, not every Pakistani is Raja Mir or Mohammed Najmi. The vast majority are Mirpuris living in ethnic enclaves in Bradford, Leeds, Rochdale, Rotherham, take your pick, perpetrating horrendous things against our women and girls, or actually knowing what their family members are doing and harboring them because, as the head of the Ramadan Foundation once said, they don't want to be seen as siding with the white enemy. So I think that we should...
When you have enclaves in your country that consider the local population to be the white enemy, that is unsound to have them be there.
Oh, yeah. And more and more Western countries have come to the realization that these enclaves are not a good idea.
No, they're horrible.
It's probably a good idea that, initially, the house mass numbers is to come into big blocks of housing.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're leading to this type, as he said, type of situation.
Well, yeah, Sweden found that out because they have no-go zones. Like, you can't go there unless you're Muslim, right?
And I give credit to Sweden at the moment. They're dealing with those no-go zones in a very, very not-so-friendly way.
Well, they were Vikings at one point, but they'll figure it out.
Well, in fairness to Sweden, they're, as I said, they're pretty nice, fun-loving people, but you would not want to get on their bad side. And that's what's happening at the moment.
Ooh, somebody got on their bad side. Not good. All right, here we go.
As well, leverage visas for tourism. We should leverage our foreign aid to ensure that their foreign criminals are returned, because they're currently trying to reject them. We should blacklist certain countries from legal migration, and we should be sufficiently culturally muscular and unapologetic about doing so to deter the people who do not want to live here according to our laws, that do not want to, let's say, assimilate in the traditional way as a sort of member of tribal belonging. You come, you discard your old identity, you have an affinity for the culture of the place, you adopt its faith, and you traditionally marry into the tribe, which is usually what happens. Obviously, at the host majority's request. You don't want to force people to do that. How Islamic. And then you would actually have a sort of thriving organic society that would allow us to mix with the admittedly very few people that want to come from other places in the world but actually join the national family, and the rest can either leave of their own accord, or if they commit a crime, they get deported.
I think a lot of immigrants want to join the national family or whatever. A lot of them, I've met loads of immigrants who are super, I don't want to do that, I met them, so they exist, but immigrants often do want to be part of this whole British thing.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Okay, so a lot of the time, there's three categories. Eric Kaufman's really good on this. There are three categories of immigrants. There are sort of people who are hostile to your way of life. So we would describe the Pakistani grooming gangs as this, or Islamic terrorists. And then there is a second category, and that is the people who are wholly indifferent to the culture and the host majority that they live among. I would put Sajid Javid in this category, actually. So Sajid Javid is currently running the Independent Commission on Community and Cohesion to get to the root causes of what caused the Southport riots last summer. And he's only dealing with second-order issues there. So things like social media and mistrust in institutions. He's not dealing with the core problem, which is, the immigration that happened on his watch. The reason I put that, and we can come back to the ICCC in a bit, is because in 2021, when Nigel Farage used to express concern about demographic change and noted that the census had showed that Britain's largest cities were now minority white British, Sajid Javid tweeted, "So what?" So he has a complete...
Whoa. But that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Saying so what
Yeah.
is not the is not the right answer there.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought up Nigel Farage there.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see Nigel Farage, flip flopping around in the last couple of years. He's kind of a bit all over the place. Now he's one of the main voices behind conservatism over in Britain again.
Very strange.
And it's interesting to see. Yeah, it's interesting to see how he's flip flopping. By the way, one of the main architects behind Brexit. People seem to forget that. But remember, as I always say, immigration is not the only problem with Britain.
Right.
Brexit was one of their biggest mistakes, and it will go down in history as one of their biggest mistakes.
I really do think that immigration is their biggest issue, though. Honestly,
it is at the moment, and that's forefront at the moment because it is
right. But it's like
issue.
a cut that won't heal. Right? They will continue to bleed and bleed and bleed unless they do something about that. Eventually, you will die from blood loss. All right.
Yes, eventually, yes.
Indifference to the downgrading in number, in culture, in priority of the host majority in this country, who theoretically his family were taken in by, they fostered good relationships with, and he should prefer because they're the custodians of said culture that he would and his family would come to live among. The third category is what Eric Kaufman calls ethno-cultural traditionalists. And this would be me visiting Japan, right? I go to Japan because it's distinctly Japanese. Even as a Christian, I'm not going around there saying, well, you need to abandon all of your Shinto practices and Buddhism because it makes them distinctly Japanese. I would never dream of not only coming and saying your culture's crap, you should adopt mine, but also, I've read a lot about your history. I've lived here for a few years. I'm as Japanese as you are. That sort of level of contempt and condescension does happen when new arrivals...
So they're trans-British. Got it.
Yeah.
In an antagonistic way, try to redefine what being British is to often encompass its antonyms. This again was the question that was asked at the conference to Robert Toombs and Danny Kruger by our mutual friend Carl Benjamin. He said, if anyone can identify as English, what does being English actually mean? If it really is just a set of platitudes of...
Right. If you just say I'm a thing, but you aren't that thing, and then everybody has to accept the thing as true, then you're running into a fallacy there, right?
Yes.
There is a distinct British culture. If you've been there for 6 months, you are not British. You are not assimilated. You are not a part of that culture yet. But if you choose to assimilate and integrate, then you can, in fact, eventually get there if you're acting in good faith.
If eventually, and that's his main point is, if you go there in good, as you say, in good faith, and you really want to integrate into the country, you want to go down to the local pub or whatever it would be, watch the local soccer team and so on, and integrate really into British society or even Irish society or any society.
Right.
But the vast majority of them are coming with the mindset of, we are going to settle here with our own culture and that's it.
Yeah, and that's not healthy at all.
No, it's
not healthy for the people who are already there, whose culture it is.
Exactly.
All right.
Also, there's no saying, when in Rome, do as Rome.
Yep. Also, I was telling you about that Robert Heinlein thing. If everybody's rubbing purple mud in their belly button and nobody's getting hurt, then just rub the purple mud in your belly button. You'll be all right.
Yeah, there we go.
Tolerance and fair play and the rule of law, something which pretty much every other liberal country has. What is distinct about being British? Instead, if there is a British culture or British values or something...
The rule of law is super important. A lot of immigrants in a lot of places are getting all kinds of handouts. They're costing their countries millions and billions of dollars, and they're not appropriately integrating. And the rule of law is not applying to them evenly and appropriately.
No, it's not.
To identify with them. It flows from a people to whom we ascribe the prefix British. So it all flows downstream from them. So in order to have the culture, the values and things that actually, if we hadn't hollowed out the definition, we would attract a few people we'd want to join the national tribe with a proper understanding of it. In order to have that, to attract those people, you need the people who act as the custodians for whom it is second nature in the first place. And so unfortunately, a lot of immigrants are increasingly hostile, or they're increasingly mercantile. They see nothing wrong with gaming the system, playing the incentives that have been set up by successive governments to take handouts or come over on a work visa and switch to another visa and just live off the teat of the state, and don't actually revere English culture at all, especially because our government has put such downward pressure on it in so many years that it just now means either nothing or it's something to be ashamed of.
I don't think that's a thing that one should be ashamed of. Where you're from, like you shouldn't be ashamed of that thing. And then when the government is saying you should be ashamed of it, and if you don't think like the government's telling you to think, then you are a far right fascist. Like it just doesn't even follow. So
no.
Anyway, Mr. Tomlinson with Mr. Gold on Heretics, pretty good stuff there. But you got anything else to add?
Very good, actually. Very interesting.
Yeah, I like it. He's very well spoken. I really did appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
interesting young man.
All right, we're going to close this one out. For Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Ring the bell, do the things, help us beat the algorithm. We are out.